संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। So Shankara Jayanti has passed just a few days back, and I was thinking that since I have come to Vancouver, we have not even discussed this great saint's life even once, though we have quoted from his works and all. So today we will discuss about his life, whatever is known, and of course his achievements as much as we can understand. We can understand very little because such a luminous, towering personality and a versatile genius, certainly one of the greatest saints and philosophers the world has ever seen. There is no doubt. He was a brilliant thinker and practically unbeatable in debates. No one could stand before him. And his achievements are so many. He reconciled the conflicting sects prevalent in his time and refuted the harmful negative systems of thought which were current in India, thus reviving the Sanatana Dharma or Vedic religion. And by doing this, he placed the Vedanta philosophy on unshakable scriptural as well as rational foundation, both. So Swami Vivekananda himself has said Shankaracharya had caught the rhythm of the Vedas, the national cadence. That rhythm still, of course, is still beating in India's heart. Shankara helped us to catch it. And in the words of Sri Ramakrishna, Shankaracharya retained the ego of knowledge because he says one cannot teach men without the command of God. So generally, Vedanta says that once we attain that supreme knowledge, the ego, which is an illusion, is completely wiped out. But great persons like Swami Vivekananda, Shankaracharya and all, they retain the ego of knowledge. So it is not an ego of ignorance, but ego of knowledge. Why? Not for their own sake, but to teach mankind. So this knowledge manifested as his unparalleled commentaries on first and foremost the Brahma Sutras, also called the Sharirika Sutras, also called the Vedanta Sutras, then the Bhagavad Gita and major Upanishads, maybe 11 or 12. By this, he established the Advaita Vedanta as the pinnacle of the religious and philosophical thought of the world. At the same time, we should not think that he was a dry person. He was deeply devoted, and his devotion found manifestation in his various hymns. So, let us first see what the great Swami Vivekananda has said about Shankaracharya, a little of that. First, about the conditions prevalent in India when he was born. So we know that he came after Buddha. Swami Vivekananda says Buddha brought the Vedanta to light, gave it to the people and saved India. So by this one sentence, we know that Buddhism in its pristine form is not different from Vedanta. What has later come, it's all the work of his disciples. So by this one sentence that Buddha brought the Vedanta to light, we know that he also taught the same religion. So although he revived this religion, but after 1,000 years, a similar state of things again prevailed. The mobs, the masses, and various races had been converted to Buddhism, but the teachings of Buddha became in time degenerated. As everything becomes degenerated. We don't know why. So, Buddhism taught no God, no ruler of the universe. So gradually the masses brought their gods and devils and hobgoblins out again. And a tremendous hodgepodge was made of Buddhism in India. Again, what happened? In the name of religion, materialism came to the fore, taking the form of license with the higher classes and superstitions with the lower. So higher classes got license that in the name of religion do anything. Do holy wars, kill, enjoy, have elaborate rituals, and lower classes, lots of superstitions entered. But India has to live, and the Spirit of the Lord descended again. He who declared, I will come whenever virtue subsides, came again. And this time the manifestation was in southern India. And up rose that young Brahmin, of whom it has been declared that the age of 16, he had completed all his writings. He lived only till 32. The marvelous boy Shankaracharya rose. The writings of this boy of 16 are the wonders of the modern world. And so was the boy. He wanted to bring back in India to its pristine purity. But think of the amount of the task before him. India was in such a state of degradation. So Swami Vivekananda says, all these horrors that you are trying to reform today, that was spoken 100 years before, more than 100 years before. So all the horrors that you are trying to reform are the outcome of that reign of degradation. The whole of Indian national life became a huge page of the most horrible and the most bestial customs. That was the inheritance which that boy got from the Buddhists. And from that time to this, the whole work in India is a reconquest of this Buddhistic degradation by Vedanta. So Shankara came for this revival, the great philosopher, and showed that the real essence of Buddhism and that of the Vedanta are not very different. But the disciples of Buddha did not understand their master. Therefore, degraded themselves. They denied the existence of the soul, denied the existence of God, and became atheists. That was what Shankaracharya showed. And gradually the Buddhists began to come back to their old religion. So what did Shankaracharya do? He once more revived the Vedanta philosophy. He made it a rationalistic philosophy. In the Upanishads, the arguments are very often obscure. So by Buddha, the moral side of religion was stressed and by Shankaracharya, the intellectual side. So he worked out, rationalized, and placed before us all the wonderfully coherent system of Advaita Vedanta. And Swami Vivekananda himself says the greatest teacher of the Vedanta philosophy was Shankaracharya. And many other things are there which we won't mention now, we will leave it for a future date, what Swami Vivekananda has said. But one thing very important, he says the great glory of Shankaracharya, another great achievement was his preaching of the Bhagavad Gita. It is one of the greatest works that this great man did among the many noble works of his noble life. What? The preaching of the Gita and writing the most beautiful commentary on it. So we will soon start the Gita, hopefully, and we will have a glimpse of that brilliant commentary. And he has been followed by the founders of all the orthodox sects in India. Because each sect you will find, they have also after that written a commentary on the Gita. Now let us have a glimpse into his life, and I will also show you some paintings, sculptures of Shankaracharya and some pictures related to his life. So I think all those who are online can see also. This is one of the very famous paintings of Shankaracharya. So those who are online, if you cannot see, please let me know. One second. Yeah. So now let us see the important events of his life. Unfortunately, reliable information on Shankara's life is scanty. And it is said his true impact lies in his iconic representation of Hindu religion and culture. He is seen as one who restored the Hindu Dharma against the attacks of other schools of thought. And tradition also portrays him as the one who reconciled the various sects, Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Shaktism, etc., with the introduction of the simultaneous worship of 5 deities. Panchayatana it is called. Ganesha, Surya, Vishnu, Shiva, and the Divine Mother Devi. So he promulgated that all deities were but different forms of that one indivisible supreme being. Even the birth of Shankaracharya, when exactly he was born, we don't exactly know, but it is generally believed that he was born in the 7th century AD into a very orthodox Brahmin family. His birthplace was, as most of you know, the village of Kaladi. So I'll show you that Kaladi. You must be knowing that it is in Kerala. This is in western Malabar in southern India. It is said that when Shankara was only 10 years old, he had already memorized the Upanishads, the Gita, and the Brahma Sutra, and also become a master of the Sanskrit language. 10-year-old boy. We could not have believed if we had not read about Swami Vivekananda, because it seemed that these are all fables. But in Swami Vivekananda's life, you see, because it is all documented. So, later, of course, we know that he wrote commentaries on all of them. As a young boy of 10, he would hold discussions with great scholars of his age who would come from distant lands to see this extraordinary lad and discuss philosophy with him. So, I'll show you some more pictures. This is the memorial of Shankaracharya. It is in his birthplace, and inside it's a sort of museum. There, the whole life of Shankaracharya is depicted in pictures. So, another photograph I'll show you. This is a beautiful sculpture of this statue of Shankaracharya. Now, when Shankara was very young, his father died. So, the young boy began to think deeply about the problems of life and death. So, because he had studied all the scriptures by that time and knew intellectually about how to realize God, but he wanted to realize the truth for himself, actually have the vision of God for himself, and also to set an example for others on how to spiritualize our lives and attain the supreme goal of life. So there are many legends, many sorts of stories. Most of them are, of course, mythical, but actually, very few facts of his life are authenticated. So we have, truly speaking, just these stories on which we can at least have some idea. But some of these may be true, as we shall see later. So one of these was when Shankaracharya was very young, his mother had to walk a long distance to have a bath. In those days, people used to have a bath in the river. So sometimes she had to go a long distance. So one day the young Shankaracharya found his mother lying unconscious due to exhaustion. The river was far away, she had to walk daily, old lady. So he felt very sorry for his mother and he wanted the river to turn its course and come near his house so that his mother could easily have her bath. He went and prayed to the river, and it is said that the river turns its course in a zigzag way and began to flow near Shankaracharya's home, then again joined the main course. For example, it was going like this. Shankaracharya's home is here. So it came like this, then again joined the main stream. So we will think these are all nonsense. How can this be? But we should not come to a very quick conclusion, because even in one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna life, this happened and it is documented. Jayadi, which disciple? In Nag Masha's life it happened. Nag Masha prayed for the Ganga. And it is said Ganga welled up in his house. And there are witnesses. So that we cannot say as just a story. So for these people, anything is possible. They are so powerful and so near God. And now Shankaracharya, as soon as he became a little old, he knew that his way was not of the world. He was born to become a monk. So he prayed to his mother, please let me become a sannyasi. How can his mother, no mother will allow, and his mother was a widow. So no question. Now what to do? So another story is there about how Shankaracharya became a monk. So one day what happened? when he accompanied his mother for a bath in the river, a crocodile caught hold of Shankaracharya's leg, young child, and started dragging him. So, if a crocodile catches a young boy, means what? Certain death. So, mother was standing helplessly, seeing, so crocodile is taking my son away. Shankaracharya called out, Mother, permit me to become a sannyasi at least now. So, if I die, I will die as a monk. So, what did mother do? But mother permitted. So, as soon as she permitted, it is said, the crocodile left left the hold of Shankaracharya's foot. So Shankaracharya came trudging along. So mother was very glad to see her son alive, but she was also sad because she knew that he won't stay with her. So Shankaracharya became a monk, but he promised his mother that he would come to her in her final moments. And it is said Shankaracharya came, he performed the rites of his mother. Not only that, it is said that he also gave her God realization. So again, I'll show you some photographs. This is a this shows Shankaracharya approaching his guru, Govindapada. So Gaudapada, Govindapada, and Shankaracharya. This was the lineage. This is that ghat where the crocodile is supposed to have caught Shankaracharya. And here we see mother's last moments. Shankaracharya is beside her and he is giving her God realization. So now Shankaracharya went out in search of an illumined teacher. He went to the river Narmada, where even today there are many huts and many monks live there. Some perform the Narmada Parikrama. Even Swami Akhandananda, disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, I think he had performed that Narmada Parikrama. Yeah, it's very difficult. And there are still many robbers there. So if they find even 5 rupees in your pocket, you are gone. They will simply kill you for that money. So all the monks who go, they take not even a single rupee with them, nothing they take, just the clothes, etc. Because it is still rampant with all these robbers. So according to a legend, Shankaracharya approached Gaudapada, the great saint and philosopher. Gaudapada has written the Mandukya Karika on the Mandukya Upanishad, and Shankaracharya has commented upon that. So Gaudapada told Shankaracharya to go to his disciple, Govindapada. Shankaracharya did so, and he was practically perfect from birth. So it said within a very short time he attained supreme illumination. It is said that he remained in that state of samadhi for 6 days and 6 nights. Then his guru commanded him that go, you have been born with a mission. Same as Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda said, I want to remain in samadhi only. Sri Ramakrishna said, nothing doing, my fellow. With great pain I have gone to such a height and brought you. So if you remain in samadhi, who will do my work? So you have to do the work for which you have come. So Shankaracharya went to Kashi, Banaras, Varanasi, all these are names of Kashi. That was the well-known place for scholars and holy men. If you propagate any philosophy in Varanasi, it will spread throughout North India. Now, there is an interesting story about this period. It seems that though Shankaracharya was such a great person, illumined soul, he still had some caste prejudice. At that times India and this times it was completely different. Even now, many places there is so much caste prejudice. So Shankaracharya maybe he still had some of it. But God did not want any imperfection in his chosen messenger. So what happened? We will see. Here you can see that in front of Shankaracharya is a Chandala, which is who is called so-called lower caste in India, who is considered as untouchable. So Shankaracharya was going to have a bath in the Ganga with his disciples. The road was blocked by an untouchable, and 4 dogs were with him. Shankaracharya told him, please move out of the way, I have to go. So the untouchable heard him, he did not move out. Maybe Shankaracharya requested again. So then the untouchable did not address Shankaracharya, he addressed his dogs. He told his dogs, look at this person. He is telling me to move. He himself is saying that Atman is one. There is one Atman, no? Brahman is all pervading. So he is teaching Atman is one and it is all that exists. So where can I move? I can either be the body or I can be the Atman. So he said to Shankaracharya that if I am the body, my body is made up of the same substance as your body, Panchabhuta. So why are you asking me to move? And if I am the Atman, then I am already all pervading. So where will I move? So immediately a new vision was opened before Shankaracharya. And he saw that before him was not a Chandala, but Shiva himself. And all the 4 dogs turned into the 4 Vedas. After that, of course, Shankaracharya had no caste prejudice, and there is a famous poem which describes this incident. That is, I think, Manisha Panchakam. So, as far as I remember, I may be wrong. So, that is the poem. And before we proceed, so here Shiva, that in his real form, he is blessing the great Shankaracharya. So Shankaracharya is known as the incarnation of Shiva. Now Shankaracharya began teaching among the scholars of the day. So there was a very great scholar named Mandana Mishra. So Shankaracharya, what was the task before him? That through logic and through scriptural foundation, he had to defeat those viewpoints which were against the Sanatana Dharma, the Vedic religion. Otherwise, the common people could not be brought back into the original fold. Because if these teachers continued to promulgate those views which were inimical to the Vedas, to the true spirit of the Vedas, then what would happen? Their allegiance would be divided. But if Shankaracharya could show that he had defeated all these people with the help of the quotations of the scriptures only and also logic, then people would be attracted to the original Vedic Dharma. So he did not hold these debates for name and fame and all this to become famous, not at all. He had to do that so people could be brought back to the Vedic Dharma again. So Mandana Mishra was a very great scholar, well versed in the Vedas, But he was a karma kandi. Karma kandi means they only believe in the ritual section of the Vedas. That do yagas, yajnas, you will go to heaven, you will have some air conditioned room and some nice cold drinks and all that. After your merit is exhausted, you will come back to the world. So these karma kandis believe only in the karma kanda of the Vedas, not in the Upanishads. They say that any sentence in the Vedas which don't tell us to do karma, sacrificial rites, karma has a particular meaning. Amnayasya kriyarthatvat, there's a sutra in Mimamsa philosophy. So all those sentences are worthless. Now Upanishads don't teach karma, they teach knowledge. So according to them, Upanishads are also worthless. So Shankaracharya could not let that philosophy stand. So he went to the greatest philosopher at that time of this karma kanda, Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa, Mandana Mishra. Because he knew that if he could defeat him, then half the battle would be won. So Mandana Mishra believed that the monks were all vagabonds, worthless people. The householders were much superior. So Shankaracharya realized that unless he could convert this man, it was not possible for him to spread his teachings. So there's a very interesting story. He came to Mandana Mishra's house, but at that time Mandana Mishra was performing some Vedic sacrifice and all. So he used to close all his doors and he would not let anybody enter. So what did Shankaracharya do? There was a tree near his house. He climbed that tree and jumped into his courtyard. Then there is a very interesting conversation between Mandana Mishra and Shankaracharya, which comes down to us. So in that we can see the tremendous wit of Shankaracharya. So of course we will not just go through the whole conversation, just first line. So he got very angry because his Vedic is disturbed by they used to consider the monks as inauspicious. So monk has come means, so he asked him, Mandana Mishra, from where has come this mundi, this shaven head? So Shankaracharya said, don't you have eyes to see? This shaven head comes from the neck. So many other, this is a very interesting conversation. Yeah. So this way it was going on, but the other scholars were there. They told Mandana Mishra, see, he is not an ordinary boy. Whatever he says has a scriptural background. So ask him why he has come to you. What does he want? So Mishra asked him, what do you want from me? Shankaracharya said, I want to engage in a debate with you. Okay, what will be the wager? Simple. Shankaracharya said, if I lose, I will become a householder. I will marry and become a householder. See his confidence. Shankaracharya said, but if you lose, you have to become a monk. Okay, Mandana Mishra said, okay. Now, who will decide? Mandana Mishra also thought, okay, if I defeat this fellow, then all the monks will be completely vanquished. So, who will be the referee? Who will decide? Shankaracharya was so broad-minded. Mandana Mishra's wife also was a tremendously spiritual lady, very high caliber, great scholar. So Shankaracharya said, okay, let your wife be the referee. Then you have no chance of saying that there is impartiality or anything. So his wife, it is said her name was Bharati, she agreed. Now, what should the wife do now? On one side is her husband, one side is Shankaracharya. How can she be impartial? So she thought of a novel way. She put garlands on both, fresh garlands, on both Shankaracharya and her husband. She said, what happens when you start Like, lie detector test, what happens? What do they test? They test the reactions of your body. So she said, one who is defeated, who will be defeated? One whose garland withers first. Maybe the logic was that the person who is getting defeated, he will start to perspire and be in a, so his garland will wither away. So it is said that this debate between Shankaracharya and Mandan Mishra lasted not 1 or 2 hours, but for many days, because they were both such geniuses. But in the end, Mandana Mishra's garland began to wither. He realized he was defeated. So Mandana Mishra said, okay, I have been defeated. Now I have to accept what you had told. But Shankaracharya said, no, just because I have put that condition, you did not become a monk. I release you from that condition. But Mandana Mishra said, no, my eyes have been opened. I realize the true import of the Vedas now. So I will follow you. And it is said he became one of Shankaracharya's most devoted disciples. And he also wrote books on Advaita Vedanta. What was his name? Sureshwaracharya. He wrote many books like Brahma Siddhi and Naishkarmya Siddhi, very famous treatises. So, 4 disciples were most important. First was this Sureshwaracharya, then was Hasta Malaka, Padmapad, and Totakacharya. So, when Shankaracharya established the 4 pithas, 4 corners of India, he put these disciples as their head. And many of you know about Shankaracharya's famous poem Bhaj Govindam or Moha Mudgara. So behind that also there is a story. So first I'll show you the pictures of the debate. See here. This is so beautifully done. This is from the Amar Chitrikatha. Amar Chitrikatha you must be knowing. Yeah. So their book Shankaracharya, this is the cover. So both are seated and the debate is going on and there is a garland. Another very beautiful painting about this debate here also. Both the giants are sitting. So about the story behind this poem, Moha Mudgara, this is a statue of Shankaracharya. So what happened? How did Shankaracharya compose this poem? So it is said that once Shankaracharya was walking along the streets in Varanasi early morning with his disciples. So they came across a young student who was, some say he was a young student, some say he was an old man, nobody knows. So in that early morning hours, which is called Brahma Muhurta, the best time for thinking of God, what was this boy doing? He was memorizing Vyakrana, Panini. Panini you must have heard. The Sanskrit grammar main source is Panini. Panini's Ashtadhyayi. Ashtadhyayi means 8 chapters. And then the great Bhattoji Dikshit, he wrote the Siddhanta Kaumudi. Anyway, that is separate. So this boy was memorizing Panini Sutra. So one sutra is there, Dukrin Karane. This Kri, root Kri, is used in the sense of Karan, to do something. So Shankaracharya felt so sad. See, this time he should be thinking of God and he is memorizing only grammar. So it is said that spontaneously this hymn came from Shankara, that O foolish one, Mudamate, Bhaj Govindam, think of God. Hmm. Sanprapte sannihite kale. Kal means death. When you are about to die, nahi rakshati. It won't help. What? This dukrin karne. Then grammar won't help. Then your dollars won't help. Then your grandchildren won't help. Hmm. Only God will help. God can help. And that is also if you want. So think of God. That is Bhaj Govindam. So that is a very famous stotra of Shankaracharya. Bhaj Govindam, Govindam Bhaj Moodamate, संप्राप्ते समनिहिते मरणे नहीं नहीं रक्षति दुक्कृण करणे. This vicious cycle of birth and death, only God can save you. So let us see one or two more. This is the popular picture which is extremely well known. This statue of Shankaracharya is in California. Yeah, yeah, very, very beautiful. Now about his great works. So even in those days when travel was extremely difficult, it is said that Shankaracharya traveled widely. There are so many parallels between Shankaracharya and Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda also, after Sri Ramakrishna passed away, whole of India on foot. Just imagine. Unbelievable. So, Shankaracharya also traveled widely all over India to propagate the all uniting Advaita philosophy, so that society would again follow the Vedic path and again be lifted up. He covered practically all the important places in the country in all the four directions, and if he could not go anywhere, he would send his chief disciples there. So, about his great achievements, first of all, Shankara organized what is known today as a monastic order. Previously, there was no such organization of monks. Each monk was free to live as he liked, and they used to roam around, wander around. The very concept of organization may have been started by Buddha, we don't know. Dharmam Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. So maybe Shankaracharya got his idea from there, we don't know. But it is this much is true that Hinduism, this kind of organization was not there. So he created that. He called it Dashanami, 10, 10 names. Dashanami Sampradaya. Sampradaya means the tradition. So all these Giri, Puri, these are 10 such names. Saraswati, Bharati, etc. So Sri Ramakrishna was initiated by Tota Puri. So the monks of the Ramakrishna order come under this Puri. Yeah. So before we proceed further, let us just one or two pictures I will show you again. This is a very large statue and it is recently been inaugurated, unveiled by Prime Minister Modi himself. This is a 12-foot statue, and this is at night. It looks really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is at Kedar, if I am not mistaken. You can see the mountains in the background. This is another statue. Various ways he has been depicted. This is really beautiful. So Shankaracharya united the different prevalent religious sects under the auspices of Advaita without destroying their individuality. That is the main thing. Coherent system of thought. But all those systems were true. It is not that the worshipper of Shiva has to give up the worship of Shiva. It is not that the worshipper of Devi has to give up the worship of Devi. No. They only have to realize one thing, that all of us, through different mediums, to different names, to different forms, are worshipping the same God, which is who is one and non-dual. So he established this order of monks, Dashnami Sampradaya, for the propagation in all parts of India of Advaita and the Vedic way of life, which advocates both Abhyuday and Nishreyasa. Abhyuday means worldly prosperity and Nishreyasa means renunciation. Both are advocated. In his introductory commentary on the Gita, Shankaracharya says, Dvividho hi Vedokto Dharma. Veda Ukta Dharma, the Dharma which is told by the Vedas is of two kinds. What? Pravritti and Nivritti. Pravritti means Abhyuday, Nivritti means Nishreyas. All this we will see. So then he also founded four important mathas or monasteries at the four cardinal points of India to serve as, so to say, headquarters for carrying on the work in four zones. What are those zones? In the east, Puri. In the west, Dwarka. In the north, Badrinath. And in the south, in southern Karnataka, Sringeri. Yeah. So he himself traveled up to Sringeri and stayed there for some time and established a temple to Sarada there. So I will. This wonderful temple is a part of that mutt which was founded by Shankaracharya. So it is said to have been built in 1338. Even from this picture, you can make out that, it's so, I mean, it gives you that old times feeling. Yeah, yeah. So Shankaracharya put the four important mathas in the east, west, north, and south in charge of his four chief disciples, Hastamalaga, Padmapada, Totakacharya, and Sureshwaracharya. So, after making all the arrangements for carrying on his mission through these monasteries and firmly establishing them with proper rules for guidance, it is said that Shankaracharya finally visited Kashmir to ascend the famous seat of omniscience known as the Sarvagya Pitha. And last of all, he came to Kedareshwar. In the snowy Himalayas, he was just 32. There he entered into Mahasamadhi. So Kedarnath or Kedareshwar is the place of Shiva, and it is said that there is no wonder that Sri Shankara, who is known as an incarnation of Shiva, returned to his original source at that place. So I will show you photos of Kedarnath temple and also Shankaracharya's Samadhi. So see this wonderful picture. This is the temple, and this is the statue of Shankaracharya at his Samadhi Mandira. I will also show you the picture of that Mandira. This is the Mandir, this is the temple built at the place where Shankaracharya took Mahasamadhi. Now about his works, Shankaracharya's literary output was unfathomable, unbelievable, tremendous output, and his style of writing is very lucid and very profound. It is in very simple Sanskrit. Even in Sanskrit, there is a gradation. We know that one of the most difficult Sanskrit is in the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavata Purana. In the Gita and Mahabharata, the Sanskrit is simpler. So if he could have wanted, he could have written in such a style that nobody would have understood. But he wrote in very simple language, like all the people. Swamiji's lectures, such simple English, but very beautiful. Tulsidas ji wrote Ramcharitmanas in a language which everybody can understand, because their aim is to reach the masses. So he wrote the commentaries on, it is said, 12 major Upanishads. The 8 Upanishads we know: Isha, Kena, Kataka, Mandukya, Mundaka, Aitriya, Taitriya. And then there are 2 big ones, Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya and Shvetashvatara. So about these, I would request one thing: please don't read what the Orientalists say. They will keep on doubting, and they will put doubts everywhere. He may have written this, may have written that, may not have written this. All these are conjectures. But we have to, after all, what do they know about this tradition? So always go by tradition which has been accepted. So he wrote the commentaries on the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutras, and then many original works also, including Vivek Chudamani and Upadesha Sahasri, the 1000 verses on the teaching of Advaita. And he was also a great devotee also, as is known from his Bhaj Govindam Stotra. And he also wrote many other stotras. One we will, after we finish today, we will chant the famous Nirvana Ashtakam. And there he also wrote many prayers, including a prayer to the Divine Mother and one to the Shiva, Saundarya Lahari, Shivananda Lahari. Many of his prayers are chanted by all over devotees all over India. So, like our Ramakrishna, like our Vivekananda, like our great saints like Tulsidas and all, Shankaracharya preached no new doctrine, no new philosophy, no new creed, because these people have come to unify, not to separate human beings on the basis of different creeds. But there is no doubt that he was the greatest propounder of Advaita philosophy, non-dualistic philosophy, which is the main principle in the teachings of the Upanishads. So just before ending, I will just show you two photographs of another huge statue which has recently been built in India at Omkareshwar. This statue is 108 feet tall. This is that statue, but from this photograph we cannot know how big it is. So I will show you another photograph. It is on a very big pedestal, yeah. So from this photo you see, the first photo you see one person is touching his foot. So from that you can imagine the size of that statue. It's a very tall statue. This is at Omkareshwar. And the people standing at his feet in the second photograph to the right hand side, you see, they are looking like ants. Such a huge statue.
Which place?
Omkareshwar.
Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh.
Beautiful background.
Yeah.
I think this is the only statue in which he's standing.
Well, I don't know, but certainly one of the statues.
I also never seen a standing statues.
Yeah.
First one I've seen. Beautiful background.
Yeah.
I think this is the only statue in which he's standing.
Well, I don't know, but certainly one of the statues.
I also never seen a standing statues.
Yeah.
First one I've seen.
So let us end here. We don't end here, we will chant the famous stotra, rather sing it, of Shankaracharya, Nirvana Shatkam.